G'day and welcome back to Garage Engineers, and today we're talking about garage doors. And I really do want to set up an automated close for these doors so that they actually get used. I am going to need to have two programmable blocks at a minimum, one for this rotor and one for this rotor. The reason for that is that if I want these rotors to move to their closed position, and I try to use something like a timer block, and if we have a look in here, I think I've got one that's still not being used. Yep. So if we go to setup actions and we look at any old rotor, we can see the options we've got. We've got a reverse, which won't work to force the doors closed, since if the doors are in the closed position and that gets triggered, the doors will then open, which doesn't help us. You could use increased velocity and decreased velocity to try and effectively create a door close, so that if you increase the velocity and that means it'll move into its closed position, then it'll close, or if you decrease, you could do it that way, but it's not really the nicest way of doing it. Now, these doors do both close in their 0 degrees position. If we close them now, I can show you that. And that's because of the way I built them. I didn't do it intentionally, I just ended up with that being the result. So, whoops, I didn't want to actually close that. I wanted to keep that open so we could go to hanger. And we can see rotor hanger door left is going towards 0, and so is right. But they're going towards 0 from different angles because they're turning in opposite directions. What that means is, if I use one of those programmable blocks that controls rotors, like I did on the turntable, it will be able to make them both close at the same time. But if it then gets sent a 60 degrees command, it's going to run one of these doors into the wall, attempting to get there, which obviously is not what we want. What we need is for one door to go to, sorry, why did I say 60? 90. What we need is for one of these doors to go to 90 degrees and the other one to go to negative 90 degrees. So we need to be able to send the commands separately from one programmable block to that rotor and one to that one. Now, what I had hoped I would be able to do, but realized I couldn't, was just set them up with one programmable block for the close and then just use the reverse command to open them up again. But for the script to work, it sets the velocity to 0 when it stops the doors. So it doesn't really work. Since then the velocity will be 0, you reverse and it still does nothing because you're not reversing an actual velocity. So not particularly helpful that way either. So we are stuck with two programmable blocks. We'll need a timer to automatically trigger the doors to close at a set interval. I was thinking maybe a minute or maybe 2 minutes to make it even more efficient, or close less often, I should say. And then a sensor just for safety. I wasn't planning on using the sensor as a direct door close trigger, just so that the doors wouldn't close in a hurry if I changed my mind and wanted to go back in. I think it'll just make that whole thing a little bit less likely to happen. Although I could just do a safety sensor, and the sensor, whenever it detects nothing, pushes the doors to the closed position. Oh no, that's the reason I didn't want to use a sensor. So, because I want to use the sensor to close the doors, and I want that to happen when there's nothing in the area, it'll only actually trigger if something enters the sensor zone and then exits. Which means if I were to open the doors, decide to turn around and head off, the doors won't close if I haven't actually gone through the sensor range. And so using a timer will mean that that won't happen. So let's actually get to setting this up. And I think I will do this in the upstairs server room, not in the hangar server room. Not sure why, just decided to do that. Oh, actually I do know why, because I've already sort of got a room set up and I need to make it full. But I didn't want to, and I also didn't want to fiddle around with deciding how to expand a new server room downstairs. So my thought would be to make this one cramped similarly to the other ones and just whack a programmable block, whack the two programmable blocks in here and the timer. So I'll get those built and then we'll set this all up. So for this first one, let's call it base PB hanger door right, since it's the one on our right. And then this one we'll call base PB hangar door left. So let's grab our names of our hangar doors. Then we will pop them into the script. There we go. So that's the left one set up. And let's set up the right one. So those programmable locks are now controlling the doors. And I want this timer block to cause the doors to close on a set interval. Base TB, hangar, door, close. Let's make it every 90 seconds. Setup actions. So this will be pretty easy. I've just got to send a 0 command to each of the PBs that control the hangar doors. Hangar door left, run 0. Hangar door right, run 0. So that's our close command. Then we're actually going to need another timer block. Oh, we're going to need another 2. I need this one running on a delay and triggering itself. So start, and then we just start it and it'll just keep running. So I'm going to need another timer to open the doors now, aren't I? I had forgotten about that. I can just trigger now on this existing one to be able to close the doors instantly, but I will need another timer block to be able to open it. So before I go downstairs and fix up the mess that I've just created, I am going to name that timer. And the mess that I've just created is that I don't remember which door had -90 and which door had +90 as its angle. So, to figure out which door needs to move clockwise and which one needs to move anti-clockwise, let's have a look at the numbers. So, this door is going to move from 0 through 315 through to 270. And that would make me think it is moving in a negative direction. So, it's the one we're going to send a negative command to, and that's our left door. Hopefully. So, I'm going to just do one door at a time. And what we need is our timer block for our hangar doors open. I'm going to set up our actions. I'm going to grab our PB hangar door left, and we are going to run it with -90. Confirm. And now we trigger now and hope this doesn't explode. Oh no! No, no, no! I've got the doors back to front. Ah! Handle close. Trigger now. Oh geez, did I do any bad damage? Or did it move slowly enough and small enough distance? Okay. Would appear my rotors are wrong. Oops. So let's change that to run. Maybe here. So let's just ignore the fact that I might have these around the wrong way. Let's go +90. And now, trigger now. Okay. Alright, that's okay. Now left run, and then handle right run with -90. Even though those left and rights are back to front. The doors will now work. Then hopefully, if that timer is still running, which it didn't seem to be. Oh, I selected the wrong timer block. Hangar door close. Start. There we go. Now everything should be working if I click start. And that should just keep running. Good. If I trigger it now, both doors start closing. And then if I trigger this one now, both doors start opening. Yay! What the? That was a thud. I don't like thuds. Let's just drill a teensy bit out with left click. I'm just going to leave these rocks on the ground until they despawn. Okay, now we need to set up a sensor. So where should I put this sensor? I could build it under the floor, which might actually be the best idea. So it'll be hidden. Or I could just put it up on the roof there. Don't think there's too much harm in having a sensor visible here. Oh. Yeah, that's right. I'd have to drill out more of the roof to be able to put it there. Oh, the doors are closing automatically. Yeah. This is good. This is good. And I'm going to do a little bit of drilling across here. There we go. Hopefully that'll get rid of the thud next time. Right, sensors. Sensors cannot have anything in their volume of placement, any voxels in their volume of placement when you put them down. So if I were to place this here, I'd have to drill out more of the roof, which I don't want to do. So I think we will go with the placement underneath. Our other option would be to place it on the wall or place it on the roof on the outside, which I don't really like the idea of doing. And what I might do for placing this is grind out a little stair section like I've got for the timer block room, which will give me the headroom I need to be able to place the sensor down. Okay, so if I put these stairs in here, I'll create 2 blocks of space where I can put a light down here and I can put a sensor down here, but really it's just for the sensor. And then I suppose I can use this to create another room later on if I need more space down under here and another access way to something, which I probably will try and design so that these stairs aren't just here, literally for the singular purpose of... How did I grind that down? Aren't here for the singular purpose of putting a sensor in, which seems excessive. But I do like the whole having stairs to make these corridors a bit more varied. So now that we've got room, let's place our sensor down. And this sensor is going to set up actions, TB, and it'll be the hangar door close. So on entry, it will turn this off, and on exit, it'll turn it back on. And it will be set up to detect players, small ships. Yeah, that's probably it. Now I have to... now I think I'm going to use a little bit of a spectator cheat. What I'm going to do is first name this, which will be base sensor hangar doors, door safety. And we're going to show on HUD, going to go info, show sensors field range. Then I'm going to go F8. Oh, I'm way down here. And I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I can, in the F8 menu, use build vision. So, left extent. Let's push it right out. So right extent should be about the same, but it'll be 2.5 meters less or more. Back, can go right down to 1, and then front. This needs to go out about as far as the doors cover as well. And that is my easiest and safest way to set up a sensor range, since it means I can see exactly what's going on while being in that menu. And now we want to turn that off so that I don't see it anymore. That should mean that the doors work perfectly. I am going to have to change the commands on all of the vehicles so that they send the proper open command through to the base. But for now, that's fine. I will set each of those up as I leave. While I was editing, I thought of something that I would like to fix up right now. And that is the way that these doors are working and the way that the timers are working. What I think I will do is I am going to make the open one trigger the close timer. So run a start on the close timer. What that'll mean is that every time I open the doors using that timer block, I will end up with the close one getting triggered. And instead of having the close one constantly run itself, I'm actually going to remove that aspect of it. Don't know why I thought of doing it the other way first. It was a lot more complicated than it needed to be. Since, yeah, I don't know why I did it the other way. This way should be much simpler. So every time I open the doors, this timer block will start, as soon as I move something into the path of or into the sensor area of the sensor, that timer block will be switched off, which will stop the clock running. Then as soon as the thing exits that sensor range, the clock will start running again, which will just give me that extra bit of buffer to make sure that I don't end up with something getting crushed by the doors. But yeah, I think that's a much nicer way of doing it. And don't know why I didn't do it that way in the first place. We did get the vast majority of the welding done when we were going around with Igor and the Buttercup last time, so I think it's reasonable for us to do some painting. And one thing I did want to do was paint these grey in the middle. And since this should be in its 0 position, I had an idea, and a lot of people mentioned something similar, and I was tossing up between this idea and another one, which I'll describe in a second. What I was thinking was to identify and to ensure that the turntable is in its correct position. I'm going to put one grey square there. So that means if I've got the all yellow side facing me as I drive in, it's that the sensor hasn't worked and the whole thing needs to be rotated around before I drive on. Otherwise, my commands to get to my parking spots will not work. So that's kind of what I was thinking there. And then there was also the suggestion that I add some grey to this, and I think that is a very good idea. So I'm going to add some medium grey to each of these ribs. And another little suggestion, which I am going to do, maybe not just yet, but I am definitely going to do, was to put a transformer box on the crane, which I think will look really cool. Because it'll add that whole, it's got its own power system, which is exactly what the person who suggested it said. And I completely agree. Plus, it's a nice way to add a little touch of bright red in here for a bit more variety. Whoops, wrong spot. I think that works out reasonably well. I'll leave the white at the very end here, but I'll do all of these little ribbing bits in grey. Sorry to everyone that my voice sounds a bit different at the moment, particularly last video. It's just the good old man flu since it's winter here in Australia. There is one little thing I would like to do here as well, and let's bring this to a charcoal-y kind of grey. A few people reckon that since I thought this looked like rubber, I should make it painted the colour of rubber, and I want it a bit brighter than that. Yeah, that's more like it. And with that, I think we'll do the connector yellow. There we go. Cool. I would like to, at a later stage, add the transformer box and add some flashing lights for when this moves, but I'm not going to get into doing that just now. I think that's a bit more distraction than I need right now. One of the other things I want to add to this is, so I want to add the transformer box, and I also want to add some flashing lights to this for when it moves, but I'm not sure exactly how I want to do that, so I'm just going to think on that a little bit more before I actually get onto it. In the meantime, I'm going to paint the bits around here that are yet to be done, so that a few less people get upset with my haphazardly yellow painted parts. One last thing I actually forgot to do for these hangar doors is set up this command here. Now I won't have to go through all the remote control menus to be able to walk out these doors. Look at that, it's daylight outside, yay! Last time I was talking about what I wanted to do with this bunker, and I think the batteries are intact. Yes, they are, good. So my plan will be to use the batteries as a power source so that I can set up a drilling rig to drill straight down, creating the launch part of the silo so the rockets can launch straight up through that. We'll then have some doors to cover over that so that it's nice and hidden and protected. And I think most people seem to want me to do things a particular way, and that is to set up a drone to fly back and forth and resupply this base with the components needed for the missiles. And I kind of think that could be a lot of fun. I will absolutely have to use some scripts to make the autopilot work for that. The vanilla autopilot will not cope with the hangar. I have never, ever been able to manage to get it to go into a space this size. And I just realized I need a door button on the outside now. I think that's what I will attempt. It's not going to stop me from also having an alternate little entrance in the side here where I could do some rearming, refueling from. But initially I'm going to go for the drone design and have something that can fly in and out of the base and do automated resupply, which could be kind of cool if it works. And if it doesn't work, we know it doesn't work and we go for the rover style, or we manually fly the drone ourselves. Either way. The reason I came outside was I wanted to show off a design I have in mind for making a lighted route to and from the mining site. And I think it ends up looking relatively neat. So what we need for this idea is a catwalk block. We need vanilla steel catwalks. We need corner lights. And then the only reason this kind of works is because I've got Ikester's decoration mod, the transformer box. And what I think will be done for creating lights is we just get the straight steel catwalk plate, have it nice and vertical, and this will be left in its build state. So say, for example, I wanted to build one just about here as an indicator. Place it there. No, not that way round. Would place it the wrong way first up, wouldn't I? So I want it that way because I want the bars to be vertical. So we place it like that. Then on it, we place our transformer box, which acts as the battery. If you were in vanilla, you could do it without the transformer box and place the battery underground and then use something like this. But I think this really looks best because I've got the mod. Then on top of this, to create the light, we go with corner lights. Placing one there and then one on the back of that one on the other side. And although it doesn't light up a very large area around it, I can use this, and a number of people suggested this as well, and I agree it is a sensible way of going about it. I can use this style of light as kind of runway lights, so they indicate the limits of the safe area to drive through. So I can place them down along the way for through here. They'll be closer to one another since there's all these rough patches and I want to keep clear of them. But for the wider areas, I can just keep them more broadly spaced since I've got a pretty safe run. And then going tight again down here where there's these rough bits and there's just this nice little smooth channel here which I want to go between. And I think that could work really nicely. And since interior and corner lights don't actually use any power at present, the battery that's in the transformer box will never run out. So I don't need any solar panels. And I think it will actually look quite nice. So my plan would be to build a bunch of those on the way down to the mine so that next time I drive at night, I won't terrify myself and won't have anywhere near as much risk of going over the rough ground and crashing. Now, the bridge. The last big space to weld on our base. Well, I suppose there's also the refinery room and the assembler room, and I will get to those. But I want to do this bridge because I do want to put some lights on it. And if I'm going to put some lights on it, I want to make sure that I've got the floor of the bridge actually complete before I start building those on. And I might just pop inside and refill my hydrogen because I'm going to be doing a lot of flying for this. Like with all my other constructions, with this bridge, I want to make it feel like it is supported in some way, like there is some degree of structural integrity. So what I think I might do is start by having some pylons that come out from the mountainside. And I don't want to just have something going vertically all the way down here, and hello debris. I think what I'll do instead is go for something more angular. So that means using sloped blocks. And how big have we got this? Is it the same width as it is? Oh, I'll find out. What I think I'll do is start here. Yeah, we'll start here. And I'm going to build a diagonal row like this from that block. And then I'll also build one from here. And you can see now why I refilled my hydrogen beforehand. And I'm actually carrying 3 bottles now as well, just for that little bit of extra safety. So if I go over there, because I'm going to be flying quite high off the ground, and I really would rather not fall down into the pit. So if I bring those 2 in like that, I would really love to have a diagonally angled thing that goes all the way down to here. But without the use of rotors, I don't believe I'm going to be able to achieve that. I mean, I could use rotors and attach it at both ends, or just kind of have a fake attachment at the top end and use the rotor from the bottom. But I think I'll just keep it a bit simpler than that. So if we go with an inverted corner there, an inverted corner underneath as well. Yep, like that. Then I can use these to continue like they've just crossed over each other, which I think could look nice. We'll see. I'll build it out a bit on both sides and see how I like the look of it. The reason I'm not doing the bunker just yet is that I want those ideas that I've got working around in my head to get a bit more developed before I go and start another big construction like that. Plus, you know, I really want to get this bridge welded up, at least the surface of it. There we go. How does that look? Yeah, I kind of like it. I do. And I think we could probably just have one diagonal going in against this way, and then the rest of them can be diagonals from this side. So maybe 5 blocks apart? 4. We'll go 4. And then at about this distance, I think we just have this supported fully on a wall, which I'll put some detail into later, like some half slab indents, that sort of thing. Which takes me back to my Minecraft days where I used to do crazy detailed walls. And when I say takes me back to my Minecraft days, I mean takes me back to the days before I bought Space Engineers. Because that's the only reason I stopped playing it. So I'll just leave that wall bland for the moment just to get an idea of where it's going to go. And then let's build out these angular supports. Now the deck of the bridge is going to be made more detailed. I'm just leaving it basic at the moment while I do the underside, so that since these parts are probably going to be the least easy to move around later. How does that feel? I'm sort of like, I like this corner piece. I'm just not sure how I feel about it, the way it looks from this angle. Maybe it'd look nicer if I have, say, a cross beam across here. So then I can do the same in here and put another diagonal on this side. And I think that'll kind of bring it all together a bit, as though kind of feeling to me like they were 2 separate halves. Yeah. I think that looks decent as a support structure. Possibly could drop that row down a level. Yeah, that's what I might do. So, because I can't really join up these 2 bits, I might drop this row out from there. If we start from here where I know it's at, so it's at this level. Because then I can have that there, and I can put one of these corner pieces in here, and then I can continue it all the way around. And that'll really tie in the 2 sides nicely, I think. And I may even, at a later stage, or, you know, whenever I decide to, may even be able to turn this into a walkway that takes... What? Am I stuck in there? A walkway that allows you to access around the whole underside of the bridge. Because We just need an extra bit of walkway around each of these support pillars and you'd be able to get the whole way around. Nice. Alright, how does that look? Yeah. Let's get that out of the way so we can actually see. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that looks reasonably supported. Just need something along this edge. And which height shall we go? Because I don't want it to have to go down a mile. Might end up just being at this block. Because if I build it out to here, it goes all the way down to that height, doesn't it? Oh, maybe that could work, actually. Yeah, that's not too bad. I think I'll cut these out since that's just going to be wasted steel plates if I place those. And I can bring it out one block further. I didn't want to bring it out too far because what I was afraid of is that it'd end up being all the way down like there. And we'd basically end up with a giant dam. Which for the right purpose would be cool, but for this purpose would not. Didn't think about it before, but there is an upshot of not building the deck first. Which is that I can actually use the sunlight to see while I'm down here. Because of the transparent roof. Or the gaps in the roof. Probably more accurate. Now, what I might do... So I wonder if we should have some extra supports. Since this area is pretty open, I suppose what I could have done was make some of these extra thick. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should make these extra long ones out here double wide and put an extra block in them. Yeah. Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to make these ones thicker. Yeah, I think it'll be nice having a couple of really big support beams underneath like this and then make the other ones smaller. I'm going to do this. This is going to take a lot of steel to build. A lot of steel. Oh boy. I'm glad I mined out all that extra. Especially with this new design, since it needs a huge amount for these support pylons. Alright, how does that look? Yeah. Yeah, I much prefer that extra thickness on the support. It makes it feel more believable. And I'm going to weld this whole thing up because that is a lot of scaffolding to leave in play. And I think it'll still look alright. It'll be kind of like the solar tower. It did look really nice as scaffolding, but it still looks okay even once it's fully welded up. So that should pretty much be our underneath support structure. Though I may end up padding out the deck so that it's 2 blocks thick. Because it does look a little flimsy like that. If it has an extra bit of thickness to it, it'll give me more flexibility in terms of how I design it as well. For those of you that wanted me to use the doors, I am getting a serious workout on the doors. What I'm going to do out here to make it possible to work at night is I'm going to place some temporary work lights on the ground. So if we just pop a few interior lights about the place and just maximize their range, we'll be able to see what we're doing and be able to keep working out here through the night, which would be nice since I don't really want to have to just wait for daylight to do things out here. I'll certainly have to grind down and replace these lights as I go around once I'm building stuff, but that's okay. I don't mind that. Okay. So I do want a double layer deck. I think I am sold on that idea. And what I might do to start the second layer is actually start it one row back from where those supports are. So I'm going to go across here. Yeah, I definitely think that's going to look much more believable. It just looks too flimsy. Looks like it'd need materials that crazy advanced. Since this is supposed to be steel, I kind of want it to look like something that could be made out of steel. I think... Does that look like it'd be alright? Yeah. I think what we'll do is use slopes out here as well. And I'm going to make this slightly larger than it currently is. If we go around like this. Big question in my mind now, though, is what am I going to do for a safety railing? Because I would like lights out here. I'd like kind of to design them a bit like street lights. which would mean using either that design I went through with the catwalks as it, or use interior pillars as the post. And I suppose since I've added an extra bit of width, I could do something like this, I guess. I could put railings around like this, and then put the pillars behind and put the light posts outside the railings, but I kind of feel like the railing should be right on the edge. Because I do like the look of interior pillars, maybe stacked too high, and then put a interior light on top. I do feel that's kind of a nice little vanilla lighting solution. And I suppose what I could do for the railings is something like this. So if we go with a straight there, then we put a straight here and another straight there, then go for a diagonal in between. That could work. It's not the prettiest look. Or I could do this. Let's get rid of those. Say this is where we're going to have our lamp. We put a 2 by 1 by 1 there. Then put... what could we use as a support? And I wonder if this build state will look okay. That... oh, I don't think it goes quite centered enough. Yeah, and it doesn't have an attachment point on the back either. I was hoping that the build state of the button panel would reach out to the middle and have an attachment point, because then I could put the interior pillar on top and it'd look like cabling the power source actually going to the light, but that's not really going to work. That's unfortunate. And if I'm going to put a pillar out there, I'd really need to go with, say, something like this to support it, because I need something going right out to the middle. And I could put those around the edge to create the safety lights. The whole reason I'm thinking about this is because of wanting the railing, I would actually have to put the pillar all the way in here, which is going to be quite the driving obstacle. So I don't really want to have that. I'd rather have the barricades be the driving obstacle than a giant pillar sticking up in the middle. So how does that look at a bigger distance? That could work. Definitely could work. I might go with that for now. And then I'll do something more like the inset barricades for the lights that'll be on this side of things, because I'll probably only need 2 lights there anyway. But I'm going to need a lot more lights on the outer edge, so I may just go with this. So because I'm going to do some fiddling around on the deck, I did these lampposts first so that I can place down... I can do the other way. So that I can place down these light sources, build them, and have them around for the rest of this building at night, since it is probably going to get a lot darker soon. And I would like to make sure we've got enough light that everyone can see what the heck is going on, me included. For everyone who used to freak out when I was flying home, this will eliminate most of my challenges. I will need to I will want to set up some sort of control to be able to switch these lights on and off, but I'm going to be able to very easily see where the base entrance is now. One of the big downsides of putting these up on pillars is that they won't be able to quite throw their light as far across the bridge deck because they're starting from a greater height. But I just really like the idea of when you're walking along here, having the lights so high up. So I think it looks kind of nice. But it will mean the center of the deck is going to be underlit. So what we could do, since we've got 2 layers, is I could potentially come up with a way of putting lights underneath that shine up through the bottom, if I really want to. Maybe. Maybe. Alright. I think at a distance, I'm relatively happy with that. Nah. Maybe we'll build the railings now. So the railings go like that, then we need diagonals, other side. Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely starting to look alright, I think. Just need to make the deck a bit more interesting now. So that'll mean using things like interior blocks. And if I quickly open the doors, so we still do have the lights out there. What I might do is grind away these ones in the middle here. Replace them with interior wall first. Oh, I just disconnected the bridge temporarily. Oopsie. With what I ground off. Had no power connection. So, those are a few blocks in, so I could probably actually continue this the whole way around, I think. I was worried I was going to need to find some place to stop doing these walls because I'd end up running into issues with how I'd do the diagonal, but we're actually a couple of blocks in from the wall now. And I was thinking I'd end them at where I put this sort of retaining wall part underneath and then try and do something different for this curved section. But I think we could just continue them the way around. Alright. I think that's a good start. Now I want to put some detail in the middle section as well that's different to what's going on in the hangar. And I kind of want to use some catwalk blocks in a few spaces, like the shower stalls ones. Just trying to think of how I could use them in an interesting way. What I could do is if we start at our, what I'm calling our retaining wall part, we've got 10 blocks across, don't we? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If we replace them with our catwalk opens, that could look interesting down the center. So we'll have a center bit that we can see through right down, then the bit that looks like it's supported, and then go back to the center bit we can see through. Oh man. Apparently I can't count, as I've made this one block wrong. Okay, now that the center line is actually in the center, I think it looks alright. I think that could work. And it might also be time for me to get Igor out here and actually lay down this deck properly. Still not sure what I'm going to do for the under deck, and I may end up changing the top deck a little bit. But for now, I think this will work nicely. Just going to get rid of these lights so that Igor can more easily move around. Can pick that out from a mile away. Never going to miss the entrance again. Although I really do want to make sure that these lights are able to be turned off because I don't want them on most of the time, I think. So Igor is going to need the ability to control those doors. Oops, went too far. Run. Programmable block with base TB. Hangar doors open. And Igor should be able to open the doors. Let's load him up properly and then hopefully that will work. Alrighty. Is my door control going to work? Yes, it is. Nice. Let's finally weld some of the bridge. Oi! I said open. Dang timer. Do you think anyone would believe me if I argued that the bridge was left until I had an Igor to build it? Because welding this without a welding rig like Igor would be all sorts of horrible. While welding this up, I'm noticing a sign of just how long ago I placed a lot of these blocks. You can see that a fair few of them are that kind of mid-grey that I once had the whole base painted in, before I accidentally painted the whole thing white and then just went with it. So, they've been there a very, very, very long time. Oh boy. I just went one wheel off over the corner there. That was distressing. Something nice I'm noticing though is that Igor is actually managing to weld up the railings as well. Which is very handy. So I do prefer them finished. And that little accidental almost falling off the edge might have been part of why I placed down the railings before I actually welded. Even though it means I'm going to have to weld the light posts by hand or with the buttercup. It's definitely worth it to take that level of risk away. Alright, that is all my current supply of steel plates used up on the deck of the bridge. So it'll be a little while yet before we go and attempt to build the underside, I think. But this was a big, big, big change. Let's go park Igor and then let's have a look at how it's all turned out. And Igor continues to live without ever seeing daylight, even though he's been outside now. Well, I think I need to get rid of the grey bit, even though it's almost a historical thing now. We have a bridge that actually looks like a bridge, not just a bit of scaffolding that I threw up in a hurry. Yeah, I definitely think it'll be cool being able to see through in parts of it. Yeah, I'm happy with that for now. There's going to need to be some more detail work done around the place, I think. If I turn off my lights, you can see a bit. I will need to put some lights in the front of these doors, though. Since I'm going for this bright look right now, I should add some extras in to make it present everywhere, I guess. Well, I'm very happy with this. Very, very, very happy. Now I just need to build a button outside so I can open the doors. There we go. Not gonna miss that hangar entrance. Sticks out like a sore thumb. That makes it very safe to fly back from up here. Very safe indeed. So next time around, I think I will start working on the drilling mechanism for hollowing out the silo, since the base has all its big projects with a lot more progress on them. I was about to say finished, but really I've made a lot more progress on all of the big projects around the base over the last couple of weeks, which has been really, really nice. I've been very happy that we haven't been attacked, so we've been able to get all of that work done. What I'm going to do is start doing bits and pieces on the bunker so that we can head towards getting the missile launcher done. And I'll try each time to get a few more little bits done around the base. So stuff I've got in mind is still the decoration of the bin chicken spot, so it looks suitable for a bin chicken. As I've kind of got a really strong idea of what I can do in there. And I will need to pipe up its connector as well. Oh, geez, it's not locked, it's just hovering. I feel like all of the connectors may have disconnected. That's locked. That's locked. Oh, geez. At least this is locked, but I'm going to drop it down just in case that happens to it, so it doesn't drop quite so far. You're unlocked. Yeah, a bunch of them have unlocked. It's really weird. So have you. I think I might know what happened. I think there might have been a brief power outage that was more of a glitch than an actual power outage when I disconnected the bridge from the base. Battery. Oh no, you're just completely dead, out of power. Awesome. Good to know I can't use the chicken hawk if I need it. Fantastic. Alright. Alright. So the little things, now that I'm not distracted by all of my ships having been disconnected, the little things I want to do, some of them aren't so little. It's stuff like actually get more of the welding done in the assembler and refinery rooms. They're still big jobs, but I do want to do this decoration soonish while I still remember what I wanted to do. Even though I don't use this space as much at the moment. But yeah, that's the idea. Get a few little jobs done as we build our silo so that we can fire something large at the enemy base, and then I can start blowing stuff up just whenever I feel like it, which could be fun. Another thing I did was I painted these grills a darker grey, and I think that gets the effect I was after. I painted them the same grey as these beams, and I'm quite happy with the result. So there's building a drilling rig over the kind of cone-shaped thing, which I guess is going to end up looking a little bit like a volcano. And plenty more to come. So I'll see you then.